As we know, the House of Representatives has also begun investigating alleged irregularities in flood control projects. To protect the credibility of the probe, House members are now required to disclose any possible conflicts of interest. A motion initiated by Akbayan Party-list Representative Chel Diokno, who is joining us today on the show. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Kong.
Good morning, Gretchen, at magandang umaga sa lahat ng nanonood at nakikinig.
Congressman, you filed a motion to fully disclose financial and pecuniary interest in business and when it comes to this flood control probe. No, how far will this disclosure be? Because I note that you used the words indicated in the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, RA 3019, that says prohibited nga po yung any direct or indirect financial or pecuniary interest in any business, contract, or transaction in connection with what the official intervenes with. So hindi po ba parang medyo delicate din po itong hinihingi po ninyo sa inyong motion?
Well, I think it's important that both direct and indirect interests of a financial nature be disclosed by those who are investigating, especially when we speak of members of the House of Representatives. Marami na pong mga balita na lumalabas na meron daw mga sangkot dyan. And we have to assure the public that any investigation that's conducted by the House will not result in a whitewash.
And ibig sabihin ho, if I get it correct, no, yung mga may previous association with construction companies at pangalawa, yung mga may contributions from contractors?
Yes, but the basis of the motion that I filed yesterday was not just the Republic Act 6713 and the 3019, but the Constitution itself, because the Constitution requires that all members of the House and the Senate make a full disclosure of their conflict of interest, especially when it comes to matters that are under investigation by the committees of the House or the Senate. And nararapat lang sa palagay ko para sa taong bayan na magkaroon nga itong complete disclosure of direct and indirect business or financial interest.
So, yung dalawa pong yun po yung pinaka parang maaaring maging disclosure o inaasahan po ninyo mula sa mga kongresista?
Lahat ng mga klaseng interest, when we say indirect, that could mean, for example, na meron silang close relatives na kasama sa mga korporasyon na may government contract or flood control project. Kasama din yung mga nabanggit ninyo, Gretchen, ng donations, for example, by these big contractors, especially those named in the top 15. So yung mga bagay na yun.
Okay. And when we get these disclosures, what will happen then? Will they be asked to inhibit?
That is what will be put on the table pag may mga disclosure na yan. They may decide to inhibit voluntarily, which to me is the best thing to do. But if there are clear grounds for others to disqualify themselves, then perhaps that should be demanded of those who have these conflicts of interest.
Oh, because the other side to it is syempre yung mga kongresista rin po ang nagsusponsor ng budget, ano? Hindi po yung kasama. Okay. The other side to it is yung mga kongresista po natin yung nagsusponsor ng budget. Kumbaga parang may mga proponents po within Congress for these projects under the budget. Hindi po yun kasama, just to be clear.
Well, kung sila inatasan mismo ng House, if you recall, under the Committee on Appropriations, some members of the House are assigned a department so that when budget hearings are called, usually sila ang decide. Siyempre, kasama sa official na tungkulin yun. So, yun ay hindi covered.
Okay. How confident are you of an independent probe or a credible probe? After seeing what happened yesterday, there was a call from Representative Chanco to have Congressman Chel Diokno as resource person. Pero ito ay parang medyo hindi nagkaroon ng magandang reception because sinasabi nga po dapat itong pag-invite sa kanya ay patungkol sa budget at sa mga insertion, which is a different topic altogether. But Congressman Chanco says, if we can't investigate our own, di ba, parang how will we have...
Congressman Reset who
Okay.
made that motion. I think it was
Okay. But do you agree that this probe should go that far?
hindi pa siya na-actionan. The motion is on the table. That has been acted upon by the committee.
Oo. Oo. But do you agree with Congressman Chanco that it is needed to summon him, or Congressman Risa, is it needed to summon him to be able to have a credible probe to talk about budget insertions as well?
That's precisely the reason why Akbayan filed the resolution. And there is a counterpart resolution in the Senate as well. That all BICAM proceedings up to the very end be public, transparent, and accessible to the public. Because we don't want anything to happen like what we found out happened in the previous budget. As far as the previous budgets are concerned, we need answers. We need to know how those insertions were made and who should be held accountable for them. The budget process should be fairly simple. The President submits his budget, the National Expenditure Program. Dati, Congress hardly touched that. Kasi nakikita naman nila na galing sa pag-aaral ng executive party yan. But in the last few years, that has changed. And now we are witnessing a phenomenon where dumaan na sa House, dumaan na sa Senado, bigla na lang pagdating sa Bayan, may kung ano palang naisasamang o naisisingit doon. And many of those, based on what we gather, are flood control projects. So, dapat may sagot din tayo dyan.
But this has been addressed, correct? Like with the abolishing of the small committee when it comes to the House, and also pagdating sa BICAM, the Speaker has said that he is for transparency and an open BICAM. Don't you think that all that has already been addressed? Yung nitong possibility of having these insertions within those two committees?
Actually, Gretchen, what was passed at plenary in the House is a resolution that allows observers from civil society to attend and observe meetings and hearings of the Committee on Appropriations. The resolution does not specifically refer to BICAM proceedings. Kaya kami sa Akbayan ay nagkain ng resolution that calls for open and transparent, in fact, side screening kung kaya gawin for the entire BICAM proceedings up to the very end to prevent any issues of insertions at that stage.
Okay. But what or how do you feel about congressmen investigating themselves? I mean, if it gets to that point na meron na pong tinag dito na kongresista, do you think Congress should pursue that route or should leave it with the independent committee that will be formed by the President?
That question actually was raised at the plenary a few weeks ago, and Congressman Balita answered there is no objection, but it was approved by plenary. Now, how do I feel about it? I think we should find a way to adopt a mechanism like they do in other legislatures in other countries, where we can appoint an independent counsel or somebody who, not just maybe one person, but even a committee of 3 or 5, who are of non-repute, who we can rely on to conduct an independent investigation. I've been asked about the independent investigation that was announced by the tanong kasi dyan, pag ikaw halimbawa ay na-appoint ng chief executive, ay how can we be assured that you will be actually conduct an independent investigation?
And with that, shouldn't that investigation be taken out of the House purview and just given to a body outside Congress?
I think that remains to be seen, and if we can be assured that there will be a truly independent investigation na walang utang na loob yung mga uupo doon, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have that.
But do you agree that Congressman Zaldi should be called in as a resource person?
I think the proper term there would be to invite, because he is a member of the House. Now, whether he would be willing to appear or not, that would really be up to him. But like I said earlier, we need to have answers to what happened in the previous budget, and we have to find a way to address this systemic problem of having insertions at the final stage where ang dapat nangyayari sa BICAM is simply to make sure that the House and the Senate versions correspond. There should be nothing more than that discussed in BICAM.
Okay, so this could cross over into talking about the budget insertions.
Kasama doon kasi yung mga nakita natin o yung mga lumalabas sa balita na budget insertions sa last budget ay mukhang karamihan doon ay mga flood control related projects.
Okay, kasi narinig din po natin si Chairman Terry Ridon. Sinasabi niya na hindi dapat pag-usapan ito, dapat sa House Appropriations na yan. We're focusing lang on the flood control probe, which parang many people are wondering bakit hindi, parang how do you not talk about the insertions when that's clearly linked to all of this. So it's good to hear that from you. Okay, after yesterday's hearing, what do you think would be the trajectory of the House probe? I mean, vis-a-vis the Senate probe, who would you want to invite to the hearings?
Well, the rest of the contractors who didn't show up. In fact, I still have a lot of questions for those who did show up. With this in the House, sa dami ng mga gusto magtanong, limited lang ang oras namin. So marami pa akong naka-reserve na mga questions na gusto sana itanong.
Oo, yung mga contractor ho na pumunta po sa Senate hearing na absent po sa House.
Kasama din po sila doon sa listahan natin.
Oo, okay. What systemic reforms? I mean, all of this coming to light now, no? Of course, yesterday we had District Engineer Henry Alcantara of Bulacan talk about, the failure to inspect a project before signing in on the completion report. How do you think should we fill in the gaps for more checks and balances to happen?
But first of all, I'm not satisfied with the answer of Mr. Alcantara. And I think that he and his subordinates should be questioned at length about that. Madali na sabihin to pass the blame on your subordinates, but I don't think that's the reality of the situation. I don't want to say anything more because I have a lot of questions reserved for him. But systemically, we are supposed to have checks and balances. For example, kaya meron tayong ombudsman para talagang tirahin ang mga korap sa ating pamahalaan. But there's a big question there. What has the ombudsman, what did the ombudsman do, especially the former ombudsman, when it comes to issues of corruption in the DPWH? And what systemic changes must we make to make the DPWH more transparent? For example, can we not put everything online where everything is accessible? The projects that have been approved, the contract, the status of these contracts, even pictures of the alleged completion. Di ba lahat yun kung ma-assure nila na ang publiko na ito po talagang sinisiguro namin na ginagawa ito, wala wala ng mga ghost project, then we can be, that is a system that I think will work and hindi na pwede magtago-tago pa sa papel.
Oo, tama ho. Kasi napaka-powerful po nitong District Engineering Office that they are not only just in charge of proposing projects, but they are also in charge of oversight over these projects and reporting the completion, including bidding out to contractors. How do you think could we, distribute the power there and the level of accountability?
I think that there have to be stricter measures internally within the DPWH and also externally in terms of how this is reported to the public, not just to other agencies and government. Kasi kung hindi naman natin makikita, dapat ang ordinaryong mamamayan, kung gusto niyan tingnan, ano ba yung mga project dito sa atin, sa lugar ko, bakit itong dito sa amin tuloy-tuloy ang baha kahit may nakikita kung mayroong construction na ginagawa? Bakit biglang gumuho itong supposedly na ginagawang ganitong klaseng flood rehabilitation project? We are kept in the dark. Ordinary people do not know and have no way of even complaining. Mabuti nga ngayon, meron na tayong may ginawa si Pangulo, yung tungkol sa Pangulo. But sana maging institutionalize yan.
Okay. Kasi nga po, nagkalabo-labo na rin ho, kung sino po talaga. Tama po kayo, there must be greater transparency with the DPWH in terms of how these budgets are created at paano na ipapasa from one office to the other. Congressman Ronnie Puno the other day said na wala yung kanilang mga pinopost na mga flood control project alinsunod sa master plan at mukhang sa central daw ho yung naging problema. But others are saying sa District Engineering Office naman, may iba naman nagsasabi sa Kongreso naman nagbabago. I mean, what have your findings been at how wide scale this systemic corruption is? Isama na po natin dito yung papel din po ng COA.
Meron siyang bagong nakita na lumalabas lately. Ito yung mga proyekto na halimbawa nasama na sa NEP ng previous years, supposedly nabigyan naman ng pondo, and then bigla na lang sa susunod na NEP, andun pa rin, same amount. So, yun, hindi pa dumaan ng Kongreso yun. Parang lumalabas somewhere in the Executive Department, nagkaroon ng insertion. Yun ba galing sa ahensya? Yun ba galing sa proseso nung pumunta sa DBM? We don't know. Then you have again the more familiar issue of insertions during the congressional process, and of course what happens in the BICAM. Kaya I think we have to have really more operative checks and balances. Nandun ang Kongreso para ma-check nga itong mga insertion supposedly nung nagagaling sa Executive Department. Pero kailangan din meron check tayo sa BICAM at mismo sa Congress, sa proseso sa loob ng Congress pag nag-hearing kami sa mga budget.
When it comes to the role of congressmen in the budget, to your knowledge, how much do congressmen peruse through these budgets? I mean, for infrastructure, for education, for health. Pag dumating po yung budget po sa inyong desk, lahat po ba yun ay tinitingnan po ninyo isa-isa, line by line? Or is that difficult to do given also the number of figures?
But I cannot speak for the other members of the House, but in my case, I asked the help of consultants. I talked to a lot of people who are very familiar with how the budget operates. I examined the document myself, but given the background that I have, kailangan ko rin makausap ang mga talagang marunong dyan. At kailangan marunong din makinig ang mga representante natin. Kasi I'm sure, like others, hindi naman kami mga expert dyan. I mean, there are a few of us who, because of experience the House for a long time are thoroughly familiar with it. Pero ako'y baguhan lang. So I have to have that ability to listen and consult. And when I see something that I must be, which we have to ask about, I will not hesitate to ask the officials or agencies who appear before us.
I ask that because if you take a look at the structure of government, parang naipapasa-pasa to from one office to another, from the ground up to the office of congressman. And given that power of oversight over the budget, what level of accountability should congressmen have over, of course, ito nga, yung sabi kayo na po nagbanggit, na paulit-ulit po yung mga proyektong ganyan na it's the same project carried over to the next year.
Lahat naman dapat may accountability, whether you're a member of the House, Senate, or Executive Department, or the Judicial Department. Anytime, and ito ay panawagan sa hindi lang mga nasa ahensya ng ating pamahalaan, but even citizens who have knowledge of anomalies and especially corruption. Panawagan po natin yan. Come out, let us know, and we will do everything we can to have accountability. Kaya nga po tayo ay sumawak dito sa public service ay dahil dyan.
Of course, the public is looking for some teeth to that accountability. How would you want this to end, the probe on flood control projects? And paano kaya po tayo magkakaroon ng tunay na accountability if this is systemic corruption and system-wide? Paano po kaya? May makakasuhan kaya? Baka ultimately we'll end up with the contractors and they would have to take all the blame, right? Paano po kaya yun? How do you imagine this to go?
Hindi pa sila nag-iisa. Ako rin ay naghahanap ng ngipin sa ating batas. Para sa akin, aanhin pa natin ang batas kung wala naman siyang ngipin. And that's one of what I see to be my roles in Congress, to make sure that I do everything I can so that there will be accountability. Hindi sapat yung may microphones lang, hindi sapat yung ma-shame sila sa internet. Kailangan meron managot. Kasi pera natin yan, pera ng sambayan ng Pilipino.
And lastly, Akbayan has called for the release of SAL-ins from those in government, and even the president has called on lifestyle checks. How much do you believe in that? I remember Ombudsman Samuel Martirez stopped the practice of lifestyle checks, including the disclosure of SAL-ins, because he said this is prone to abuse. Maaring sabihin natin, hindi naman po lahat ng nangungurakot makikita mo in public o kaya pinangangalandakan yung kanilang yaman. How effective is that as a mechanism for accountability? And yung SAL-in po na yan, is it just symbolic? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Just because a practice like lifestyle check may be prone to abuse is not an excuse not to conduct it. The lifestyle checks have been proven to be very effective in exposing ill-gotten wealth. Paano ba natin malalaman kung may kumita yung isang official kung hindi natin makikita yung everyday na pamumuhay niya? Kung ang dala-dala niyang sasakyan ay milyon-milyones ang halaga pero ang sweldo niya napakagit naman, that should raise eyebrows. That should be a red flag, especially for the office of the Ombudsman. Para sa akin, and to me, the law backs me up. The law is super clear. SAL-ins should be accessible to the public. All you need to do is to pay a minimal fee. An ordinary citizen should be able to get SAL-in of any government official. I was curious. I checked a few years ago. Could I get the SAL-in of the Chief Justice of the United States of America? I can get it online. I don't even have to request it. So bakit dito sa atin ay ang napaka-elaborate pa ng proseso, ang hirap daw para makakuha ng SAL-in? Kailangan dapat ang pinaka-transparent na official ay yung mga matataas na official natin.
But right now, because of the ruling of Ombudsman Martires, you would need the permission of the official being investigated to release his SALN. Tama po ba?
I totally disagree with that ruling. That is not consistent with existing law, the Republic Act 713. And I hope that the next ombudsman will be appointed to immediately abide by the law provided.
And if the president was serious about accountability, he could use his political influence to be able to overturn that. Tama po ba yung aking assessment?
Definitely. Kung siya mismo ay ilalabas niya yung kanyang sanin, hindi walang magagawa ang lahat ng official kundi sumunod sa kanya.
Sabi naman ho niya, ilalabas daw po niya, inaantay po natin yan. Okay, maraming salamat po sa inyo. No? Medyo mahaba-haba pa po ito, simula pa lang, lalong-lalo na dyan po sa Kongreso. Definitely a good start, maybe acknowledging the possible conflicts of interest from Congress with your motion. So we will watch out for that. In the meantime, maraming salamat po for joining us this morning. We have Akbayan Party-list Representative Chel Diokno.